We're going to go in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Brian Benoit, you are first. It's up to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, good evening. I'd like to first thank all of our candidates participating in this nomination for filling and participating in what a Canadian election is truly all about. As your Member of Parliament, I'd like to assure you I will be representing with strong traditional family values, as well as being strongly pro-life. We expect our Member of Parliament to speak on our behalf and on behalf of our province in a manner that is respectful, responsible, passionate, and with integrity. Prudent with our tax dollars, a solid plan for our economy, balanced budgets, and low taxes. Jobs and new industry are my forte. New and innovative ideas for our agricultural industry, like the specialty seed processing plant that's coming to us, that will not only create jobs, but also help our ag industry produce crops with higher returns. Instead of shipping our raw product, we will be able to produce value-added products right here. And speaking of jobs, that is up front and center with me. I bring with me a well-accomplished record in business, promotion, and job creation. I've got 20 years experience in 2 different corporations in creating jobs and new products. It will be my biggest focus. I've also been very focused on our energy sector. I spoke with TransCanada Pipelines and consulted with Cenovus Energy, and have told them I don't want to learn about this on CBC or the internet. I want to hear directly from them. I want to hear what they also need in their Member of Parliament to get jobs, because jobs are our biggest issue here in Medicine Hat. We have to get our oil to market. Number 1 is Energy East to the Irving Oil Refinery in New Brunswick, and to stop the 600,000 barrels of oil coming in every day into our country from Saudi Arabia. I will treat my position with the same high integrity I've treated my family, home, and business, and determination to get Alberta back to work again. New and innovative industry and strong support from me. My success in business has attracted all kinds of calls from across the country with some of my contacts. My answer to them is, Medicine Hat is open for business. There are many opportunities to grow our economy. It just takes drive and determination and an open ear. I will also be standing strong in support of my provincial colleagues in opposition of Bill 6, which is a provincial issue, as I strongly stand in opposition of the provincial carbon tax. I also will very strongly stand in opposition of the national carbon tax. Never from me will you ever hear, this is not my department. Reckless and irresponsible spending on the part of our present government, both federally and provincially, will be strongly opposed. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Paul Henman, please.
We're all anxious to get here, but I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody for coming out. It's really important that you, the members, get to listen and ask some questions and to hear what the candidates are about. And I'm very proud to be up here with the other 5 candidates. It's awesome to see the momentum that we're gaining in this riding, and to have 5,000 members. It is really exciting, because I feel like with the wave that's gone across Alberta and Canada, that there is no safe ridings anymore, that the conservative values and principles are under attack, and we need to defend them. I will be a strong defender of those principles. It's what's made our country great. I'm a 5th generation Albertan here in southern Alberta, and I'm very proud of that and the efforts that my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents have brought to this country. And the biggest value that I see that they brought here is this ideal that we're paying it forward. Each generation has looked to the next one. We've worked hard to pass things on, and I think it's unethical and immoral on what we're doing now with a $600+ billion deficit, and saying that we're passing that on to our children. Their future is a concern for mine. The reason why I'm running is I thought that I'd served 2 terms and I'd done my service, but when my business associates and close friends called me up and said, Paul, the country and the province in the worst shape it's ever been, we need you to get back into politics. And then when my wife came and confirmed that, said, I think you need to get back in, I'm willing to serve again. I feel that my knowledge, my experience, my understanding of government, and probably most important, economics, that I can not only serve this constituency well, but I can also help build our Conservative caucus again to have a strong election platform in the next election. It's critical that we get out there and tell Canadians that there is a better way. We don't need to follow European countries and other areas with these massive deficits and believing that somehow we're going to spend our way out of these problems and poof, things are wonderful again. We're on the precipice of some real economic troubling times, and it's critical that we understand that and that we as Conservatives talk about how we're going to pay down the debt and pass on our hope and opportunity to our next generation. But I'm a farmer, feedlot operator, been a small business entrepreneur with 3 or 4 different businesses in the casket, the ice, and the steel rolling, and I understand what it takes to get the economy going. I understand the problem of big government, big intrusion of government into our business, into our family lives, and I promise to do my best as your elected representative in bringing those values back to the forefront. But thank you, and looking forward to your questions. Have a good evening.
Okay, Mr. Jones, now you're up.
First, I just want to join with Mr. Benoit in thanking all of you for coming out tonight. It's fantastic to see so many people who are passionate about politics, passionate about hearing ideas and different positions. And I hope that as we share our ideas with you tonight, you have a clearer idea of who you think will best represent this constituency, and I hope that that person is me. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. My family and I have lived in Raymond for the past 7 years. We love it there, and we enjoy the small town life. I graduated from law school in 2004, and since 2005 I've been working as a lawyer for the most part in the small town firms. As I've done that, I've running a small business and working with people and talking with people has really helped me to see all the sort of levels of socioeconomics that we have in this riding and all the different sorts of people that we have in this riding. And that's been even more so as I've gone out and talked to people at their doors and at their kitchen tables. Through this process, it's been amazing. Just the opportunity to talk to people, to find out what their concerns are, what their hopes and aspirations are. And one of the biggest issues that I keep hearing is about the Liberal government and the debt that they're accumulating and the taxes that they're imposing and how that's going to impact us and our industry and how it's going to impact our children. Those are really serious issues. And they're things that I've thought a lot about. And I think at the end of the day, what we need to do as Conservatives is we need to build on what we've been given. I grew up in Southern Alberta, and I watched Ralph Klein, and then I watched Preston Manning, and then as an adult, I watched Stephen Harper. And I watched these men change a province, and then change a nation. They made real, concrete differences. By instilling small government, conservative principles, first in our province and then in our country. And it made a difference. It lowered our taxes. It decreased our debt. It opened up opportunities for all Canadians to develop their businesses and their families their way. That's the legacy we have to build on. And I'm asking you to send me to Ottawa so I can build on that legacy. A legacy of liberty and opportunity and growth. That's what we have to sell to Canada. That's what we have to give to those people who are doubtful about conservatism. And I know that as a champion of conservatism, I can go forward and I can help those people see a positive conservative vision for this country. And I would ask you to help me to do that by sending me there as your member of Parliament.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to share a bit about me and my background and why I will be your choice in this particular candidate's race. I'm a lifelong Albertan who grew up on a family farm and learned from conservative parents the values that still drive my life today. I recently retired from the Medicine Hat Police Service after having the honor and privilege of serving in in various leadership and executive roles for the last 35 years. I cherish the trust people in this community have placed upon me. Since retiring, I continue to add, I'm committed to the people of this community by adding value to the lives of others by my volunteer work. I'm involved in the Medicine Hat Board of Directors for the Housing Society. I'm involved in the Alberta or Medicine Hat Subdivision Development Appeal Board. My wife and I are involved with the Santa Claus Fund and the Medicine Hat District Food Bank. We are active in our church, and we love spending time with family and friends. However, there's a lot more that I want to do, and I have the skill sets to back up the drive to do it. I'm eager and willing to put my high energy to work at a national level. I'm a hard-working individual that brings significant and authentic life experience, the pressures of which have created character and perseverance. With proven leadership abilities, integrity and credibility, I provide a common sense, no-nonsense approach to getting things done. I have personal experience with the challenges of owning and operating a farm as well as a small business with multiple staff. Those who know me can attest that there are no surprises with me. You see what you get, and you'll always get it. I have a great capacity to learn, and I'm always ready to listen and gather wisdom from others. Most importantly, I have a proven willingness to get involved and commitment to stay involved until issues are resolved. I care deeply about people, and I'm passionate about them, and my wife and I live in this community, and we raised our family here for the last 38 years. Current economic issues facing this riding are significant and require serious attention, especially those from our energy sector. Our agriculture industry requires us to be paying it attention, ensuring that it remains strong and viable and competitive. There is a need to reasonably interpret the Species at Risk Act and its impact on agricultural industry. Our military must be strengthened so it can maintain its proud heritage of protecting this country. Sustainable care and protections must be given to those who are vulnerable in our communities. There's a very unique opportunity for the MP here to take seriously and listen seriously to what's going on in our riding. The people of Medicine Hat-Cardston-Warner deserve a proven, resilient leader who's not afraid to fight for its constituents, and that leader's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gregory Ranger.
Thank you. Good evening, and it's wonderful to have all of you here and to see your bright, smiling faces. It's exciting days that we're in, and we have some challenges ahead of us. My name is Greg Ranger. I'm the father of 6 children and the grandfather of 6 grandchildren. Everything in order. I have a background in trades, in business, in industry, and I have 6 years of post-secondary education, and I'm fluent in French and in English, and that's been a wonderful opportunity for me. Having been an employee, a contractor, an employer, a retail owner, and an industry representative and consultant, I bring a significant knowledge base in real-life experience to assist you. This is critical in providing insight into dealing with everything from regulatory issues to what constitutes a beneficial contract. Attention to detail can mean the difference between success and failure. As a consultant to industry, I have dealt with analyzing government acts and regulations in both languages to help resolve conflicts. I've also been involved in bringing new products to market on a national and international level. Among my strengths is the ability to become a trusted friend or associate. Working with people always yields better results. Working long hours and under deadlines has helped me to develop a strong work ethic and a focus, which will be needed as we rise to meet these challenges. The ability to think out of the box has served me well, as I have found solutions to industry challenges such as overcoming disease problems in provincial fish hatcheries. Like Thomas McKean, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, who served out of honor, I wish to bring dignity and respect to the office of Member of Parliament. I believe it is paramount that we protect and serve the family, preserve the family, that we respect the sanctity of life, and cherish the rights and freedoms upon which this country was built. I have always been front and center in championing these causes, and I will continue to do so. I believe that the proper role of government is to assist, to facilitate, and to protect, not to burden us with debt, regulatory obstacles, social degeneracy, and democratic impairment. I'm here because we need people who are grounded, who have life experience, who have good moral upbringing, and are willing to defend those values. We need people who are focused and committed, who can get to the heart of the problem, who will work with you and for you, who will gain respect and credibility in Ottawa, and be a leader and a blessing to the people of this area. I'm prepared to do that, and I hope that in this effort you will support me as I seek to become your member of Parliament.
And our final candidate for this evening, Mr. Joseph Scott.
You know, it's an honor to be here with such a great group of Conservatives, both in the audience and here on stage. Each of us brings a dynamic offering to this race, and it's really exciting to be part of. But you know, this race, it isn't about us, and it's not even about the party. This race is about you. The media and public today would have you believe that politics is about right and left. It's really about what's up and down. A year and a half ago, we had a Conservative government, both provincially and federally. Now Rachel Knopp is our Premier and Justin Trudeau is our Prime Minister. Both leaders are implementing policies that will bring Alberta and the country, along with the families that live here, to its knees. As it stands, we spend $82 million more per day as a country than we bring in. The government wants to implement a carbon tax that will hurt everything we touch. Prime Minister wants to implement democratic reform that will leave the Liberals in power in perpetuity. And the most precious gift of all, life, human dignity, is in jeopardy in the hands of partisan committees on Parliament Hill. We are standing at the precipice of dramatic change in this country, and I will not stand idle. I will not look back in years to come and say, I had the most to lose, yet did the least to stop it from happening. Medicine Hat-Cardston-Warner is my home. My family's been here for 5 generations. And while not everyone had the opportunity to be born here, we have the privilege to live here now. And this rider is a member of Parliament who will fight and stand up and hit the ground running if elected to be our representative. It is a privilege to represent a riding in the House of Commons, one I do not take lightly. And I have rubbed shoulders as the Chief of Staff for a Conservative MP with some of the brightest leaders of this party on Parliament Hill, developing policy that will benefit all Canadians. And having knocked on thousands of doors, I can tell you the message is the same everywhere. Protect our families. The first thing I learned in my master's degree of political strategy was if you're going to represent people in government, you'd better go to the people. That's why I'm here, to earn your vote, so that I can represent the issues that are of concern to you in Parliament Hill, to represent you to Ottawa, not to represent Ottawa to you. I look forward to this forum, and I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you.
With any political forum, especially one with 6 candidates, it's going to be impossible for us to cover all the issues, and it's going to be hard for us to even get into the issues that we do cover in any sort of depth. But we do hope that this forum gives you a snapshot into the 6 individuals here who are in this election. I've got 5 questions here that we're going to ask. We're going to start with Mr. Benoit, and then for each subsequent question, we'll start with the next person down the line. Each candidate has 1 minute to respond, and after which I will open up the floor for anybody who has a rebuttal. You're welcome to take the microphones right out of the cradle and hold them in your hands if that works better for you.
Are they all on?
Yes.
Testing.
They should be.
Good to go.
Okay. So the first question is about the economy. Over the last couple of years, the price of oil has plummeted, which has really hurt Alberta. Here, closer to home in southeastern Alberta, the price of natural gas has dropped also. But with increased shale production in the United States, that looks to be continued for some time. Prices are probably going to remain low for a while. With such economic conditions, what is your view of how the economy can be improved in this region?
Well, going around to probably 700 or 800 homes, we've got tremendous unemployment here. You know, I think somewhere between 15 to 20%, maybe as high as 20%, because we're not counting the contracted welders and drivers and, you know, other contracted people in the oil fields and natural gas business. Energy is the answer, and I really believe that my background in my corporate positions with negotiations and being in boardrooms and that sort of things, I really don't have any question at all that I can do something about energies. And regardless of the price of oil, we've got to find a way to stop this 600,000 barrels of oil a day coming in from Saudi Arabia. There's no question about it. That has to be done. So I've been talking quite a bit with a lot of the oil people, especially TransCanada Pipelines, very close with them, and just trying to find out what it is that we need to do to get that pipeline through to Fredericton and the Irving oil plant. And it's negotiation, and I think that I have the skills in my background to be able to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Hinman.
Well, thank you. And it really is about the economy. If our economy is hurting, we, our families, our communities are all hurting, and we see that with the deficits that we're running. And the most important thing is first of all, for a government to be committed to realize that we only have a certain amount of money. We have to prioritize that spending and make sure we put it in the right direction. This is the wrong time for any new taxes. It's the wrong time for saying that we're going to lead the world and put in and impose regulations that are above and beyond our competitors. You can look at California, and the situation it's in is it keeps raising the different regulations there and makes it uncompetitive. We want to have, and we do have world-class environmental standards, but we don't want to punish ourselves. When you go out into the world, we want to be as competitive as possible. We need to be able to have the capital flow throughout the country and not be punished every time we try and switch our industry. But we need to lower our taxes and open up the trades throughout the world.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
A big part of the answer is pipelines to Tidewater, whether that's Energy East, whether it's the Kinder Morgan pipeline, whether it's Northern Gateway, whether it's XL. We need to be able to get our product to market. We also need to be able to make sure that if there's liquid natural gas facilities that are going to be opened up, either on the West Coast or the East Coast, that we have access to those as well. The problem that we're having right now isn't that we don't have a system in place. We do. The National Energy Board has looked closely at all of these projects. And as an example, with Kinder Morgan, the National Energy Board came out and said, these are the specific requirements that you're going to have to fulfill in order for this pipeline to be expanded. And then the Liberal government stepped in and said, oh, on top of those things, we've got some other requirements. We aren't going to set them out right now. They will be set out eventually. Then we're going to take it into cabinet and we're going to make a decision. That has to stop. If we are going to ask people to invest in our country, if we are going to protect our workers, there has to be a system in place, and even the government has to follow the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Bonds.
The economic recovery in this region, and certainly in Alberta, is a huge priority. The oil and gas industries are under attack, both provincially and federally, with new taxes, corporately, carbon tax threatening. We are certainly resistance to pipelines, new and current, put us in a difficult spot. Now is not the time to penalize this industry. The economic recovery, though, needs to be expanded beyond just the energy and pipelines. I think we need to look at some diversity of distribution beyond just pipeline. There is the rail opportunity to both Alaska and Churchill, and that should probably be explored. We have to look at economic recovery beyond just energy and transfer payments. We are in a spot in Alberta where we are providing a huge amount of resources to other have-not provinces. And we should maybe consider the idea of sending only our per capita federal services charges to them to Ottawa and nothing further. Also, we have to look at balancing budgets.
Wrap it up, please.
Balancing budgets. Spending more than we have is not a way to, you can't spend yourself out of economic crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pence. One second. I appreciate the feedback from the audience, but if I can remind you, let's just hold the applause until we get to the end. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ranger, please.
Thank you. Of course, Energy East, Keystone XL, Northern Gateway, and Kinder Morgan are critical parts of assisting our economic recovery. Of course, with oil prices being low, part of that recovery also depends on how that market will fluctuate and if it will move in the right direction. And as others have indicated, I do believe firmly that we need to have other ways of improving our economic situation here in the province. There's a lot of things that we need to be doing with existing industry. We've got a lot of agriculture and a lot of cattle down here, and we need to make sure that in fact we are looking after the existing industry, making sure that it's not floundering. Agriculture has been dipping lately, and we do have a few concerns in the area of cattle as well. In addition to that, we have industry relocation, value-enhanced products, and other things to assist us.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
Protecting the local economy comes down to one thing: protecting the wealth creators. Wealth creators have great ideas, they innovate, they create jobs. Take the cuffs off the private sector. In the recent budget in March, the Liberal government said that they will not reduce the tax rate on small business to 9%. It's going to stay at 10%. That's just one example of how the Liberals are not taking the concerns of Albertans and Canadians who want to create jobs and create success for their communities seriously. Taxes are required, but unfair taxes hurt our local economy. As a member of Parliament, I will fight, of course, for energy. We need energy sector, and market access is essential. That's pipelines, that's new customers, that's higher demand for our products. But there are side industries involved with that, as well as hospitality, car sales. These people need to feel that they're being protected and they can continue to create wealth and hire local people. And I will fight for that as your member of Parliament.
Thank you. The floor is open if anybody would like to rebut anything they just heard. Okay, Mr. Hinman.
Well, I'd just like to add, and I think we've had a lot of great ideas, but the most important thing in order to grow our GDP and to overcome our deficit, we actually need to have the free flow of capital. And Prime Minister Harper and Flaherty actually brought forward in 2008 and mentioned they're going to allow for capital gains to be exempt if it was reinvested, and we absolutely need that. It's that free flow of capital that allows a $15 billion investment into a pipeline and other areas where private sector will step up to the plate. But when the government keeps taxing and attacking industry and saying that we don't have a social license to operate when we're above and beyond, it's just counterproductive. We need to have a free market.
Thank you,
to
Mr.
allow capital to flow. Thanks.
Okay, on to our next question and round. We'll start with Mr. Hinman again. This riding is quite a huge riding from Cardston and Warner to Medicine Hat, and the types of communities that are represented in this riding are quite vast. As a member of Parliament, you are the primary contact for this constituency with the federal government. And how do you plan on representing the people from this vast riding, Mr. Hinman?
Well, it's certainly a challenge. As a former MLA, I understood very well how important it is to have open houses for your citizens. Our good MLA here, Drew Barnes, had one last night. I hope some of you came and attended that. That open houses are great feedback. But what's really important as an elected representative is to go to the municipal governments, to go to the mayors, to go to the reeves, go to their councillors, and to talk and listen to the local issues. As far as a huge riding, it is. It's a challenge. I have the energy and the passion to do it. My experience has been that if you want to know, you go. If you don't, you send somebody. I always went. We drove back and forth to Edmonton. It was 5 hours. I'd often work all day long in Edmonton and then come home and be ready for a meeting 7 o'clock on Friday morning here in my riding. I'll do the same here. I understand the importance of being available to the public. We're your servant, and I look at that and I will honor that and be there for you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Well, I agree with Mr. Hinman. This is a large riding. It's going to take real effort to make sure that you stay in contact with everyone within the riding. Within the first 6 months of being named as your member of parliament, I'm going to meet with every county council and every municipal council. And after that, those initial meetings, I'll continue to meet with those municipal and county councils. I find that those people who have been elected to those positions are people that are trusted in their communities and have a pulse on what's happening in their communities. Beyond that, I will have an office here in Medicine Hat, and I will have regular office hours here in Medicine Hat. I'll have an office in Raymond, and I'll have regular office hours there, so that if people have issues or questions, they can come and talk to me and they'll know when I'm going to be there. Beyond that, I'm going to be at community events. I'm going to be at Tigers games, I'm going to be at the Jazz Fest, I'm going to be at high school plays, I'm going to be at chili cook-offs. I'm going to be there to talk to people, to find out what they have to say. What's interesting in this process is, as I've gone out there, if you're where people are, they aren't shy about telling you what they think.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Mott.
As your MP, I will be meeting with you as the constituents. That's what a representative is all about. It's about getting out and meeting you, listening to your concerns, taking your issues back. You can't govern from home, you can govern by meeting face-to-face with the people here. There are unique issues in this riding. The size of it is 4.5 hours probably to drive from corner to corner, and it's significant. But you don't do it from an office. You do it by meeting, interacting, listening, and caring for people, and that's what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your philosophy on serving this riding, Mr. Ranger?
Thank you. Indeed, as all the candidates have indicated, it's a large riding. We have many different groups of people. 1/10 of the riding is on the Blood Reserve. We have the Hutterite community, we have the Mennonite community, we have ranchers and farmers that don't have easy access. So we have the big metropolis of Medicine Hat, and we have a bunch of small communities. I, as your representative, have all of those people in mind. I will go and I will meet, I will make myself available, I will make sure that meetings are scheduled and people are met with, especially, as has already been indicated, Rotary, town councils, reeves, and those individuals that represent significant parts of the community, associations, etc. And look forward to your support. Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
Thank you. This is truly a large riding. It's not the largest riding in the country, and I've seen how it's done very well by members of parliament. And the answer is simple. You can't hold scheduled office hours. I see our relationship as you are the employer, I am the employee. I come to you. So I will take meetings as they're needed throughout the riding. I will have a head office in Medicine Hat and satellite offices throughout the riding. But I will be knocking doors, holding roundtable discussions, holding town hall meetings. Because if you have a concern, it is my job to come to you. I also think it's important to meet with community leaders, but not just the elites. To meet and knock doors. If you want to know how someone's going to run as a member of parliament, ask your candidate how they ran their campaign. Have they been throughout the entire riding on a consistent basis? I've split my time equally between Medicine Hat and the rest of the riding in the south and other towns, and I will continue to do that as your member of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bidwell.
Okay, well, there's no question, we're all thought about the same thing about how we're going to operate the size of the constituency. It's huge, and we can't neglect one area over the other. So, you know, it's a difficult thing, and I've really thought about it right from the beginning, that I think that's important that I have a home in both areas. A home in Raymond and an office in Raymond where I needed time to spend there. I mean, we can't neglect that part of our constituency, nor can we neglect this part. So I have a home here in Medicine Hat, an office here, and my kids are grown, I'm flexible, I can give it 100%. And just like Joe said, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It could be 7 days a week, 1 week, it could be 4 days a week next week, it could be a week in Ottawa, it could be a week here, a week in Raymond, you know, whatever the case may be. And as your member of Parliament, we have to be prepared to be that flexible. That's how we're to it. And I'm also, I would add another thing into it real quickly, is that I'm prudent and I'm a conservative, and I'm not going to be spending your tax dollars on $150 hotel rooms for a month in Lethbridge. So, I mean, that's an important issue too. So I want a home there and a home here.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. All right, the floor is open again if anybody would like to rebut anything. It's not a particularly controversial question. Well, our next one is. Our next question concerns electoral reform. I think there's no question that the Liberals have mishandled this issue, but the question to you is there a case to be made for electoral reform, and if so, how would you go about doing it? We're going to start with Mr. Jones this time.
I'm a conservative. I like things the way they are, and if you want to change something, I think you have to make a really good case for changing it. I studied political science in university, so I'm familiar with the other ways that other countries and other electorates use ballots in different ways, and how that affects the parties. For a country our size, with this population, the first past the post system encourages large national parties. It encourages national unity. It encourages each party to find solutions that are going to be broadly, at least as broadly as possible, popular. That said, if someone else can make a case that this makes sense, that this is good for Canada, this is good for everyone, they should have to make that case to you and me as citizens, and there should be a referendum.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I guess I should point out that the election for this nomination is not a first past the post. Is there any irony there if Mr. Motz, please?
I won't answer that question. Our Prime Minister did not have permission from the electorate, from this country, to, I guess, arbitrarily decide to do electoral reform without asking the people. That's not how he was elected. That's not the platform that he was elected upon. As a country, we need to have a voice, and the only way we can ensure that we have a voice is through asking the people of this country what your thoughts are of something that will dramatically change the landscape of government in the future. And so a referendum is absolutely necessary on something of this nature, and people need to speak and be heard on issues that affect them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ranger.
Thank you. One of the biggest problems that we're seeing here, and it's being brought to light, is the fact that we have individuals in a position of responsibility that are making choices that are not belonging to them. And I think the type of reform that we're looking for should be how some of these things are handled, and which issues can be dealt with on Parliament Hill and which issues need to come before the public. And we need to have some safeguards put in place and ways of handling things properly so that we can retain our democratic voice and, as a people, make a choice. And frankly, as long as we're able to stand for things that are right, I think we'll be okay. Our problem is, are we able to do that?
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
I support a first past the post system. But if there's going to be electoral change, there must be a referendum. And if there's going to be a referendum, there must be consultation with the public first. We are representatives. We are running to be a representative. Our job is to consult you. The Liberals have even stated in the House of Commons they're using Twitter as a metric to determine popularity of their new platform of electoral reform without even saying what kind of reform it is. So I support, if there's going to be electoral reform, that it go to referendum. That is the way the party has stood on this, and I will stand behind that. Because if the majority of Canadians want reform, a specific type of reform determined through consultations with the public, then that's direct democracy and I can accept that. But any other form, I will not support and will fight wholeheartedly against on your behalf in the House of Commons. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Benoit.
Well, a Liberal will vote NDP, and an NDP may vote Liberal, and that's the idea behind Justin Trudeau's electoral reform. And I agree with all of us. I think we should have a referendum on this because we're perpetuating a Liberal government. Because, like I said, if it's not first past the post, the Liberal, Justin Trudeau knows that, the NDP may support him, or the Liberals may support the NDP in an election. And I mean, that's Conservative will never vote Liberal or NDP, never. So, they know that, and that's the reason for their so-called reform election thing. But I think it definitely has to go to a referendum, and even still, that concerns me. I'd rather leave it the way it is. I think we've got an excellent electoral system. I think we should leave it the way it is. First past the post. That's it. Winner wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Hinman.
Well, thank you. There's a bigger issue here than just electoral reform. It's really democratic reform. And Preston had three planks that he brought forward that really need to be addressed. The power should always reside in the people. And when you vote for a party, for an individual, then that party has free to do whatever they want for the next 3 to 4 years. It's detrimental to democracy. And so the first thing we actually need is recall. And when you're upset with an elected representative, you can actually sign the petition and recall them. The next one is you need citizens' initiative referendum. And when there's an important issue that the citizens want to bring forward, there's a mechanism so they can do it and actually be engaged in politics. And then the last one is an actual referendum. And on many issues, from social issues to electoral reform and all of those, they need to go to the people for that referendum. Because I can assure you, my experience as an MLA and the time in the government, those that are elected do not always represent their constituents. They're more interested in power and control and will manipulate to try and keep it and preserve it.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. The floor is open if anybody would like to make a subsequent comment. Okay, Mr. Scott.
I would just like to echo the comment that I made, that as representatives, our job is to consult you. With all due respect to Mr. Hinman, I don't believe a referendum on every issue that comes across our desk as members of Parliament needs to go to the people in a referendum. I believe that we should be consulting you regularly and taking your concerns to Ottawa. And referendums can be very expensive, and it will involve interest groups that could potentially hijack an election. And so I believe that if we can continue to endorse and promote representation, then we'll have responsible government that doesn't require expensive referendums on a regular basis.
Thank you. Mr. Hinman.
I can appreciate what Joe is saying, but the problem is where's the power residing? It needs to be in the people. And I didn't say that we're going to have a democratic process and vote on everything. It's critical social issues. For example, euthanasia. This is a major impact on our country, and the people should have a say in that. Just like the referendum for electoral reform. If that is something that should have a referendum, how much more important are the critical social issues, but not on every issue, just on critical ones where the actual laws of the land are changing and the people don't realize this when the election's being brought forward to us.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Okay, that's it for electoral reform. Our next question is about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, Many of us follow the presidential election that's coming up in the States, and Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have railed pretty hard against free trade agreements as the cause of why so many manufacturing and the good jobs here in North America have fled overseas. The flip side of that is international trade agreements are a pretty key part of trade, and balancing those two interests are going to be tough. What are your thoughts on the Trans-Pacific Partnership? And we're going to start with Mr. Glenn Motz.
Thank you. As we've spoken about tonight so far with our economy, in order for our natural resources, our agricultural products, our manufacturing goods to be competitive in the world market, you have to have access to world markets. And those world markets are done through trade agreements. So the rhetoric that is happening in the U.S. Creates some challenges for countries like Canada, who rely on the Trans-Pacific and other trade agreements to ensure our products reach international markets and our people get a fair price for their products and consumers get a fair product for their price. I think it's critically important that as a country, as a government, we continue to not only retain and fight for the agreements we have in place already, but we need to continue to seek out further agreements and solidify the ones that we have and look for more that are possible for all of our products. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ranger.
As we all are well aware, these agreements, as Mr. Motz has indicated, are critical and are important, and we need to make sure that they're upheld. We also have some other issues that we need to deal with about products that come into our country. Many countries impose a tax when we send products to them, and yet we fail to do the same thing for many products coming into this country. We need to be able to protect some of our own people here so that they can market their products within our country. And we need to be aware of everything that's going on in our markets in both directions. As far as our international agreements are concerned, they are important, and we need to use skill and wisdom in our negotiations with other countries, and we need to keep that on a very competitive basis. And so a lot of work will have to be done in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
Thank you. The previous government negotiated over 50 trade deals around the world. Market access is, as I said, essential to the success of our country, but without giving up too much of our own share. My current stance, and my stance will always be, we must ratify the TPP and approve it immediately. The Trans-Pacific Partnership gives us access to over 800 million consumers with a GDP of $29 trillion. If you think about that, those are jobs, those are families, those are faces, people who are putting food on the table who rely upon this agreement. It's an agreement we must ratify, and we also must continue to fight for other agreements like the European trade deal. And if we do that, we will see our country and our products being sold for better prices, and those who rely upon those companies that sell those products can have jobs and they can be strong families.
Thank you. Mr. Benbow.
Well, I agree with Joe. I'm all about trade and the TPP. I have some concerns about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, because not that I'm supply management. The supply management issue is going to be a problem for us. As our poultry, our producer board, or milk dairy board, all these, supply management companies. I mean, I'd hate to see us pull all these dairy quotas away from. Not that I'm a conservative, so but I hate to see us pull our dairy board away, and all of a sudden be influx with a bunch of cheap milk from the United States. So there are some things, Joe, that we have to consider that's in that TPP. And I'm full. The United States and us enjoy fabulous trade, but there are some countries that I want to make sure that our trade favors Canada, it doesn't favor somebody else. And there's also the issue of the Asians devaluating their dollar that we have to have a look at too. So, there's a lot more that I'd like to look at in that TPP than what meets the eye. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry.
Well, there's no question that we now live in a world economy. We're a resource-based nation, and we rely on export. and we need to have trade agreements. It's critical. And Adam Smith, the grandfather of modern economics and Wealth of Nations, talked about open and free trade and competitiveness. The worst thing that we can do as a government is subsidize different areas, whether it's the auto industry, whether it's the egg or the milk. Subsidization always twists and torques things, and then we don't have when we go to the table to negotiate, we're guilty in areas, and we have to be conservatives. We have to realize that we want free trade, and we can always counter when you go to these trade agreements and someone's subsidizing their product, and that's what the purpose of the trade agreements is to expose those subsidies and to allow fair trade. But we're very resourceful. We're able to compete on the world basis in economic, just like we do in sports and other areas, and we don't need to have protectionism. We need free trade.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
I think Joseph made an excellent point. One of the least appreciated parts of what Stephen Harper's government did is the free trade agreements that he put in place. It opened up trade around the world to Canadian goods. This riding counts on trade, whether it's grain, cattle, natural gas, oil. We rely on our ability to export the things that we produce around the world. So I'm absolutely in favor of the TPP. I'm in favor of any free trade agreement that is fair, that allows us equal access to other countries' markets as they have access to ours. And I think as we work towards not just the TPP, but beyond the TPP, we need to focus on allowing and not being afraid. We can compete on the world market. We can compete with anyone, given the opportunity to do so. And we've shown that in the past, and we'll show that in the future.
Thank you. The floor is open if anybody would like to make a subsequent comment.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Jones if he's, what would you think about taking away that dairy supply management situation in egg and poultry if we sign a TPP? What's that going to do to our dairy industry?
I think there are ways that the government can ameliorate that issue. But let me be really clear.
Tell me one.
I think supply management hurts the poor. Because what it does is it props up the price of milk, it props up the price of eggs artificially. Now there are people who have purchased these milk subsidies, and they've purchased these egg quotas. And so what we can do as a government is we can say, okay, let's look at the value of what you purchased, and let's work with those people who made those purchases to help them to receive the money that they paid into it, but at the same time, ending that system. There is a method to do it. It has been done in the past, it can be done in the future, and it should be done.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I wanted to say the Trans-Pacific Partnership actually has an income guaranteed program built into it. So when we talk about protecting the farmers, each farm, depending upon the livestock that they have, is guaranteed a certain amount of income in return. Billions of dollars it equates to, but for example, dairy gets $165,000 on average per farm. Chicken farmers, $84,000, and egg farmers, just over $70,000. So as I had said in my comments before, ratifying the TPP will not harm our local industries. It just gives access to our products while helping to offset some of the early losses that our farmers will incur.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Hinman.
Yes, I just want to comment that if we want to compete on the world economy, we have to realize we have a level playing field. And this idea, and as Mr. Jones is pointing out, there are ways to compensate. You know, they pay money for their egg quotas, they paid money for their milk quotas, and they can be calculated out, and it has New Zealand, Ireland, other areas have done it. And we just need to realize that this is a correcting period and the time to do it. If it's going to cost us being criticized from other countries, they won't open their doors because we're protecting a few industries. Our people can compete, they will. They don't have to pay $9 to raise a chicken or $5,000 for a quota or $50,000. Those costs do come down and come back in line.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Anybody else? Mr.
I
Motz.
just want to know, where is this money supposed to come from to subsidize the dairy farmers and the UK producers? Who's going to pay them back for their quotas? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mons, please.
We understand the basic principle behind supply management is to restrict supply and guarantee a price to the producer. That's really what supply management is for. And depending on who you listen to, it has huge advantages and it has some disadvantages. Some might suggest that supply management actually is a deterrent to free trade. And in some circumstances that may be true. If we are to have free market access and have our products available to others as well as their products available to us, we may want to consider potentially, depending on the industry, an orderly grandfathered approach to a quota system. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one final question before we break and we take our audience questions, and we're going to start this one with Mr. Ranger. Could you please tell us of a time in your life that you have failed and what you learned from it?
I probably think my wife would be better at answering this question. I did have an example of failure. I worked with a group of individuals, and what we did was we went stateside to assist an Indian reservation in putting up a modular housing factory. And in so doing that, I invested my time and supplies. I was running a flooring supply store at the time, and we took our inventory down and assisted in that process. What I learned was you need to make sure all of the agreements are 100% in place and that you've done all of your homework. I ended up coming back and dragging my tail between my legs, and I was young at the time, and it was a learning experience, and I don't regret it, but it certainly did put some more, how would you put it, experience in the University of Life, and it was life-changing for me, and I have never made the same mistake again.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
Sure. I don't actually disagree with the premise of the question. I don't like to say there's failures, just life redirections. And I guess I would say mine was I didn't get into law school, plain and simple. I applied, didn't get in, and that redirected me to apply and get into a prestigious master's program in political strategy and management through George Washington University. That degree helped me get into advertising. It subsequently helped me become a campaign manager in the last election in October. And following that, I was offered a job as a chief of staff on Parliament Hill. So certainly some may look at that as a failure. I would rather look at it as redirecting in the path that has led me to be on this stage tonight before you fine people. And I'm grateful every day that I didn't get into law school, with all due respect. Thank you.
Mr. Benoit.
Oh my, who came up with that question? Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I don't know that, I mean, I have two very good corporate careers that are very well accomplished, and very good businesses well accomplished. So when Joe mentioned law, that's what I wanted, that was my idea when I was in high school. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but back in those days, there was no subsidies or no grants or anything like that, and I had a young family right away, so I never got the opportunity to study law. So it kind of reminded me what he just said. That was something that was very interesting to me too. But I mean, how do you call that a failure? I mean, my life has been very successful and well accomplished. So I mean, I wouldn't really want to do it any other way. I'm exactly where I would like to be. So I don't know, failure. I lost a hockey game once. What type of failure are you talking about? I really haven't had any major failures, thank the Lord.
Fair enough. Okay. Mr. Hinman.
Yeah, interesting question. Obviously, my wife didn't send it in. She knows. I've always looked at failure as when you've given up and you've stopped. And so I would actually twist this question a little bit to be what's the most expensive lessons in life? And I guess mine would go back in business. I was a young farmer. My father passed away when I was 25, and I thought that I need to hedge some of my barley crop, and barley had been down at $98, $99 a ton, and I went into a professional broker at RDC, maybe I shouldn't say the name, And he says, oh, this is a great opportunity, hedge 25% of your crop at $130 a ton. And anyways, wasn't too long, and we were setting new records, and it's 140, 160, and my margin account was calling money. And it just says, wow, I got to fold and walk. And my broker says, oh no, you can't do it, stick in. Well, it got up to 190, but bottom line, I've paid for all my mistakes, and I've learned a lot.
Mr. Jones.
Well, I can assure you, Joseph, missing out on law school was not necessarily the worst thing that ever happened to you. As a young lawyer, I had 4 kids under 5, and it was an incredibly stressful time in my life. And I was at work 6 days a week, every week. And I sat down with my wife, and we realized we couldn't keep doing what we were doing. And I had a friend who was selling life insurance. He was like, you should try this. You'd be great at this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. Now, as I said, I spent most of my time from 2005 to the present as a small town lawyer. And the reason that is because after 3 months of selling life insurance, I realized this is not the way for me to support my family. I'm a decent salesman, but not a great salesman. And so I learned a lot from that. I worked with some really fantastic people, but it wasn't for me. And so I went back to the law, and it's been very good to me ever since.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Motz.
Well, as has been indicated, just ask your spouse your failures, and the list will be long. I think for me, as I age, I think my greatest, as I look back, I spent far too long in my life not living in the moment, not enjoying where I'm at, who I'm with, what I can learn, what I can share, who I can grow, who can grow me. I looked ahead. I looked ahead for what I was trying to strive for. I looked ahead to what I wanted to achieve. I looked ahead to the next thing that I wanted to accomplish. And in so doing, I missed opportunities to influence people. I missed opportunities to be influenced. I missed opportunities to make a difference when I could have or should have. And we only get this shot once in life, and so we need to make the best of it. And so I've learned to live today.
Thank you very much. I think one thing that comes across from listening to these 6 individuals here is that they're just regular people who've taken responsibility to thrown in their hat to try and help how we govern ourselves. And I think all of them are worthy of our respect. We're going to break for 15 minutes. Please turn in your questions to me or Dave or Kathy. Dave's right here, I'm right here. We'll come back in 15 minutes and we'll do the written question. Excuse me. Can the candidates please state their positions on abortion and euthanasia?
We're sticking with 1 minute, you said?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm a pro-life candidate. I will stand for that and have some comments. I'm also a candidate that worked directly on the euthanasia legislation while in Ottawa, fighting for safeguards and rights of conscience. That's what our party's about, fighting for rights of conscience. The problem with the abortion argument is that we will not see a black or white yes or no. My job is to fight incrementally to get there. So what I would start with is trying to eliminate gender-selective abortions. Then I would move forward and try to eliminate late-term abortions. This is called foot-in-the-door tactics, where you start with small and incremental change that leads to the ultimate goal that you want to reach, which is eliminating it in total. I'm a pro-life candidate. I will fight for that. Also, with regards to euthanasia, I did work on that. I know how to continue to fight for that, and I fought for amendments to protect rights of conscience. As your member of parliament, I will not waver on these issues.
Thank you. Mr. Benoit.
Well, as I stated before, I'm 100% pro-life, no gray areas. When it comes to euthanasia, no real gray areas either, but, my daughter's a nurse, and I mean, when I imagine most of us have been at the bedside of somebody passing away. And, when it gets to the time with the doctor and the nurse, and everybody says, well, we're going to give them some morphine or something to give them some peacefulness as they're leaving life, is that really assisting in suicide? I don't know. I find it to be a very gray area. But The bottom line of the whole thing is that I think that, and it's a difficult situation, it's a moral issue, and it's something that we all think about. I think that that kind of decision should be made between your clergy and your family and your doctor, and I don't think it should be something decided by me as your member of parliament. I just think it's more of a family, doctor, clergy, religious issue. If somebody's, not well, they're going to pass away within hours or days. That if you want to, it's a difficult situation, very difficult.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Mr. Hinman.
I'm very much a pro-life individual, and I believe in the sanctity of life, and I think this is the type of critical issue when laws like this are changed. This is something that I think a referendum is valid to put out to the people. This isn't something that 300 or 400 elected representatives really can reflect the views of their representatives, in my opinion. But nevertheless, I agree with Joe that we need to fight it incrementally. I think that tax-funded abortion is wrong, and that if someone wants to have that procedure because it's legal, that taxpayers' money shouldn't be used for that type of birth control. Bottom line, though, the sanctity of life and the respect of that is paramount, and we don't want courts and other things being able to make those decisions. And when people are stressed and under mental stress, that often they make poor decisions. And I think there needs to be a lot of safeguards put in. The Conservative Party has fought it right down to the line, and I'm proud of the things that they've been trying to represent there.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
Well, I'm going to second what was said by Joseph and Paul. As far as abortion is concerned, I am 100% pro-life. And I think that there are ways that we can incrementally change the way things are structured right now. I think Paul makes an excellent point. It shouldn't be up to me and to you to fund abortions. There's just something fundamentally wrong with that. Something fundamentally disturbing to me as a human being. That part of my tax dollars is going towards that. And I think the way that we stop that, I think the way that we move towards a more moral ethic is by saying, absolutely, let's put some safeguards in place. Let's talk about gender-selective abortion. Let's talk about waiting periods. Let's talk about parental consent. These are all things that have been done successfully in the United States to move the yardsticks to protect life. And as far as euthanasia is concerned, it is a complicated question, and I think we need to focus more on hospice beds and more on helping people have a peaceful end of life. And I think that should be our focus.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Mons.
I want to make it very, very clear that I am pro-life. I believe that conception is where life begins. Unfortunately, the law of this land allows abortions. As your MP, I will continue to fight to ensure that the protections of the unborn are not eroded any further than they currently are. And we need to ensure that those things are looked after. And as well as your MP, I believe it's important that the all-party pro-life caucus on Parliament Hill is something that I will definitely be participating in. As for doctor-assisted suicide, I believe in the sanctity of life. We all know that we've individually as families have gone through and seen individuals who have suffered and at end-of-life times. And I think it's important to ensure that the vulnerable who might be at risk of being taken advantage of are protected with this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Mons. Mr. Ranger.
Well, most of the discussion's already been very clearly laid out, and I can only echo the things that have been said in terms of being a pro-life individual. I believe that it's very necessary for us to work hard to eliminate, and as Joe's indicated, incrementally is as good a process as I can think of to slowly get ourselves back to the position where we're being able to protect life as it comes into this world. As far as euthanasia is concerned, I have had the opportunity to witness a number of individuals as they've passed away, and I know that it's a tough and trying time that we do go through. And I'm glad that somebody has been working to put some proper safeguards into place. That is important. And
Thank you. I'm going to open up the floor if anybody has any subsequent comments on that. Okay. Our next question, I'm going to read it and I'm going to add a little caveat since I've got the mic. The Liberals have been dismantling legislation. What piece of recently repealed legislation has been the most damaging? I guess the flip side of that is every time we flip between conservative and liberal governments, we have this process where they try to undo the work of the other. I mean, are we going to do this in perpetuity? We're going to start with Mr. Benoit.
Well, one of the first things that came to my mind was Bill C-24, which, that's really, like, somebody come to our country born foreignly and commit or even attempt to attack our country with any type of terrorism and still maintain their passport and still maintain their Canadian citizenship, like, what's going on? I mean, like, I'll tell you, they should be shipped right out of the country immediately, revoked of their passport, revoked of their citizenship, and that's one that Trudeau's repealed that really bothers me. Another one is the Transparency Act with First Nations, which is another controversial one, but I think that we needed that. We needed that Transparency Act with our First Nations people, and not because of anything racist or anything like that at all. It's just that there are some reserves that are not reporting their money correctly, and that's been repealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Mr. Hinman.
I want to say the most important thing in order for a democracy to be successful is that you need an open and accountable government, and you need to know what they're doing, and that's about the economics. And for them to repeal the Transparency Act for both unions and First Nations is a step backwards. This was going to be held people accountable in every level of government. It doesn't matter where in the country is. We need to have open and honest government. We need to see where they're spending their money, what the programs are. We need the Auditor General to say, are these programs effective? Is tax dollars money being used properly? And in all of these cases, we know that there's abuse going on, and it's to the detriment of the people, it's to the detriment of the taxpayers. We need to see value in our tax dollars. We need to know and understand what the programs are. And I'm just afraid that this is just a watershed moment where he's going to continue to pass legislation to, to basically hide the workings of government. And so I want open and honest government. They need to be accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
I agree with Mr. Hinman and Mr. Benoit that the Transparency Act had a real utility, and had a utility for the people who were living on those reserves, who were being governed by the people who are now not as accountable for the money that they're spending. This isn't about us being able to look in and see what's happening. It's about the people who are on those reserves, who are being governed in those situations, being able to know how that money is spent, where the money is going. And I think there's one small caveat that I would make to this entire question, is that I really believe that over the decade that Stephen Harper was in power, there was some transformative decisions that were made. There was transformative decisions made as far as the size of federal bureaucracy. There was transformative decisions made as far as how much taxes we have to pay with the GST. Those things haven't been repealed, and they won't be repealed. And I think Harper's legacy is safe, and what Trudeau is doing is simply around the edges, but it's still something we need to fight.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Miles.
I feel slighted that we can only touch on one issue that has been undone that's damaging, because there's so many. I think the first thing that we've alluded to all evening is the economy, the budget. What has been undone is reckless spending at the sake of our families, taxes on our families and our corporations, which will certainly reduce our ability to recover. I'm also troubled by some of our foreign policy decisions that are coming forward at this point in time. To me, a terrorist is a terrorist. Let's not be politically correct and call them anything but that. They are that, and and they pose a significant risk to this country, more than you in this audience will even imagine the risk that we are under. So let's not be friendly with those countries that are a risk to us. Let's ensure that Israel is continued to be supported, and the countries need to know that Canada is strong and supports those who are going to be bullied by others in our world.
Thank you, Mr. Mott. Mr. Ranger, please, can we hold the applause till the end? Thank you. Mr. Ranger.
Thank you. I have to agree with Paul and Michael on the transparency in our country. Anytime that you take and remove transparency, there's corruption and graft and everything else that goes on, and you eliminate accountability, and it doesn't make good sense, and it's not right. In addition to that, I'm not pleased about the closing of the Office of Religious Freedoms. I believe that freedoms are part of the things that make our country what it is. We need to make sure that we have those freedoms, and as your representative, I would be certainly front and center in the fight to make sure that those freedoms and choices are available to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
Liberal government can be summed up by calling broken promises. So one of the things that I'm quite upset about with the direction the Liberals are going is old age security. In the recent budget that had come out, it's in the back of the book. I have it in my car, you can look at it. They are talking about revising old age security. Our pensioners paid their fair share, flat out, and they deserve their fair share back. And I'm concerned that when the Liberals revise something, it's usually not a good thing for Albertans. The other side was talking about balanced budgets. The Liberals have reneged on that promise. We're talking about a modest $10 billion budget or deficit. Now we're talking 30+ billion. It's a lot of zeros. That's why I mentioned in the opening statements, $82 million more per day. And I worked last on a social issue with the Office of Religious Freedoms when I was in Ottawa. I managed the opposition motion that day. And I will fight for those issues to ensure that human rights are protected, our right to believe, to not believe, and to convert. So, a lot of broken promises, and I'll fight against them.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. We're going to start with Mr. Hinman on this question. What is your stand on recreational marijuana?
Well, I've never tried it, have no desire to ever try it, but I think that if we're to look at our historical record on how we've been dealing with drugs, that it's been pathetic. We say one thing, but we don't actually make the effort to impose that. And to think that even the people in prison, they can't keep the drugs out of there, speaks very poorly for our real desire to do it. And again, if you go back to prohibition and the problems that it caused in this country, and to go over there is wrong. I think either one, the government needs to be serious about it and shut down these problems, or else we need to go the other way and to actually not criminalize those people when they're failing to enforce the laws of the land. And I think that it's, again, one of those things that perhaps a referendum to the people. This is a huge social issue. It's a slippery slope. As Prime Minister Harper always says, it's the gateway drug. I don't think anybody argues with that, but I think these are big issues that need to be more than just debated in Parliament and then a majority government pass new legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
I'm opposed to the recreational use of marijuana. I'm opposed to the decriminalization of the recreational use of marijuana. Study after study has shown that the use of marijuana has significant negative impacts on young people's brains, up into the university-age children. The fact that it has that sort of negative impacts and is that pervasive in our culture is something that we have to speak to as a government. I agree with Paul, we either have to take this problem seriously, or we have to admit that we're not taking it seriously. And my position is it something that we should take seriously, because we have to protect those around us. That's part of what we're asked to do as a government and as a people.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Potts.
I'm opposed to legalization of marijuana. I have seen firsthand the insidious nature of the drug culture. And the legalization of marijuana will have a long-term, huge, significant detrimental effects on our society as a whole, unequivocally. The Liberal government is experiencing that this is not as easy of a process as they had first envisioned to legalize marijuana. And obviously we have to wait and see what that legislation is going to look like. However, it seems as if Mr. Trudeau is intent on having some aspect of legalization there. So if we are going to move down this slippery slope, it must be under federal control and regulation. It cannot be downloaded to the provinces. There has to be regulations right from growth to distribution, age restrictions, tracking mechanisms, taxation that we're going to need to pay for the costs of it moving forward. There has to be a mechanism in place that's tested, the court tested, to ensure that the impairment issues we're going to be facing are going to continue to help our roadways be safe. Right now, there is none, and we are at risk as a society if we move down this slippery slope.
Thank you. Mr. Ranger.
Thank you. We have some real concerns with this issue. First of all, we have to look at the fact that over the last number of decades, the potency level of the THC in the marijuana has increased significantly. The effects of marijuana in terms of judgment, motor coordination, reaction time, etc., are not conducive to motor vehicle driving and other activities, and there is certainly going to be a ripple effect through society, as has been indicated by calling this the gateway drug. In other words, let's try a little bit of something else, and marijuana's fine, let's do this, let's do that, and it moves on. Basically, I'm opposed to Mr. Trudeau's idea of turning us into a drug culture, and he may want to try and get the marijuana vote. That's fine, but frankly, there are way too many problems with this that we need to look at seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
Marijuana is a gateway drug, and marijuana legislation is gateway legislation. I talked earlier about incrementalism and how policy is implemented. This is the beginning of something much bigger that's going to bring our society down. I am not in favor of legalization of marijuana. I will not be in favor of that as a member of parliament. I have spoken about protecting families, protecting my daughter, protecting my kids, protecting your kids. And as a member of parliament, this is a major concern. This would be a major concern for me that I would continue to fight for, because quite frankly, we cannot allow, as I mentioned, this foot in the door tactic that it starts with marijuana and where does it end?
Thank you. Mr. Benoit.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that we're all on the same page when it comes to legalizing marijuana, because I'm totally against it as well. I've looked into the problems legalization has caused in Colorado, and I've looked at them deeply. At first it was a tax revenue boom for them, but it didn't take long before the customers went back to their dealers and that sort of stuff, and 10-year-old kids were stealing from their parents and baking cookies and selling them at school. And I mean, it is a gateway drug, there's no question about it. I've seen it, I've been around it, in my employment and that sort of thing. My son is the director of the detox center in Fort McLeod, and we have a lot of discussions about it. And I've asked him, I said, how many people are on these other drugs that start off with marijuana? Everybody. I mean, they don't start with crack or cocaine, they start with marijuana. So it is a gateway drug, there's no question about it. Legalizing it, I think, will be a disaster to our country. The revenue is not nearly what they think it's going to be, because we've seen it happen in Colorado, where it's just dropped down to zero practically, and they've all got back to their dealers, higher THC and cheaper prices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Our next question is about gun ownership. We're going to start with Mr. Jones on this one. We had a couple of questions about it, and I was just wondering if you had any specific policy goals related to gun ownership.
I think gun ownership should be as widespread as possible. I think the idea of having a registry where everyone has to submit a form saying I own some sort of gun is extremely problematic and shouldn't be in place. I think that across the board, legal gun owners are some of the most law-abiding and some of the most reliable people that we have. And I think at the end of the day, what we have to be focused on is getting guns out of the hands of criminals rather than focusing on law-abiding citizens.
Mr. Mott.
When I was young, my dad told me that as soon as your government wants to take your guns away, you no longer have a free country. And coming from a law enforcement background, I can tell you that if a criminal wants guns, he's going to access guns. And the registry did one thing well, or tried to do one thing well, and that was to try and identify individuals who had a firearm for law enforcement. So when you went to a residence in a hot call, you knew whether or not exactly what you were facing. Sometimes it worked, most times it did not. We were surprised many times at walking into a house that was full of firearms. As was said, gun owners in this country are responsible, reasonable individuals that don't require babysitting. And so I'm not one that requires or thinks that we require a gun registry in its initial form that was developed, and certainly I'm opposed to the controls around that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mutz. Mr. Ranger.
I strongly echo Mr. Motz's opinion on guns. I myself enjoy recreational hunting and other things to do with firearms. It's done in a safe environment, it's done in a controlled environment, and its purpose is to provide food for my table and recreational target practice. And I think that having restrictions put on this is a waste of taxpayers' money. I was so excited when Mr. Harper got rid of the long gun registry. One of the best things that he could have done. I believe that criminals, if they want it, will access it, but we don't need to turn on individual Canadians, and they are responsible individuals by and large. Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
My simple answer is if you are of sound mind and body and you go through the courses and you are going to use your gun legally, you should be more than welcome to own a firearm. It's pretty simple. I think the statistics are there, and Mr. Moss could probably shed some light on that, but those who do own a firearm and crimes committed by those with a firearm are done so who illegally acquired that firearm. So if you own a gun and you do it legally and you will use it legally, I support your right to do that, and will fight for that as a member of Parliament for you.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit.
Well, it's not the legal gun owners that shot the 4 RCMP officers in Moncton, and it's not the legal gun owners that are crazily shooting 50 people in Orlando just last week. I mean, it's not the gun that's the problem, it's the people that own it, I guess. And I mean, I totally agreement with everybody here that, you know, reasonable people that hunt and people who want to target shoot and that sort of thing shouldn't have to suffer because of the people that are criminals that can access guns. I mean, we could probably walk down the streets of Medicine Hat here right now for $50 or $100 to pick up an illegal gun. So gun registry is not going to stop criminals or crazy people from shooting 50 people at a nightclub in Orlando or the San Bernardino, whatever cases that are happening. You know, gun registration is not going to stop that. People can still get guns. They can still get, you know, anything that they want. So I don't think the answer is a long gun registry coming back, no.
Thank you. Mr. Hinman.
Well, thank you, and I think that is the absolute best thing that Prime Minister Harper did, was to repeal the long gun registry. That was an offense to every good Canadian, and the desire if they want to have a long gun is just wrong. And as Mr. Motz, I totally agree that when the government wants to take away your arms, you need to fear the government more than the people that are out there. And the fact of the matter is that it seems like liberal governments, more often than not, want to take away the people's rights to defend themselves, to look after themselves, and implement don't care, don't worry, we'll look after you from cradle to grave. And the fact of the matter is that too many laws are passed, like the gun registry, that hurt the law-abiding citizen and doesn't do anything for the criminal activity that's going on. You need to have tough on crime. If you commit the crime with a gun, that's where you come down hard and make them pay the price for using those types of things, but don't attack the obedient by those that are breaking the law.
Thank you. We're going to do one final question before we have our closing remarks, and we'll start with Mr. Motz on this one. The successful candidate here, and if they are successful in the election, will find themselves as a member of in the opposition. I think one of the things that frustrates a lot of people is that sometimes opposition members can reflexively just take positions against whatever the government is trying to do. So maybe I'd like to start with you, Mr. Motz. Can you tell us, have the Liberals done anything right? What's one thing that they've done that you agree with?
Well, that's not the twist I thought you were going with this question. I think I'll have to come back to what they've done right. I think as opposition, sitting as opposition, there are unique opportunities as when you're not in government. And one of those opportunities is to build relationships. In order to get things done, it's not done in the House of Commons, as we've seen and heard. It's done in committee, it's done in back rooms, it's done in conversations, it's done over lunches and meals and coffees, and it's building and talking and finding common ground amongst all party members. And that's what I will do as your MP, is to work with those individuals who can have a positive impact on this riding as an opposition MP, to continue to influence and make decisions that will have a great response for this particular area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ranger.
Thank you. Frankly, as an MP, I do agree with Mr. Motz that building relationships are critical, and we have to be able to work with other MPs in this country. And as an MP there, I certainly would hope to be able to build some strong bridges, even especially with the people in Quebec and those that speak French. I hope that that would be an opportunity to help bring this country together a little bit more. On the flip side of things, in dealing with the things that the Liberals have done right, I have perhaps an interesting way of approaching this issue, and what I would do is I would compliment them on the things that they have done well and say, bravo, thank you. However, in this particular piece of legislation or bill that is being proposed, we have some concerns, and these are the concerns, and I would outline them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Scott.
So the question was, what have the Liberals done right? If I could pick one thing.
Sorry to interrupt. I guess I was just hoping that something nice might be said about them.
Oh, if you let me finish, I'll
Sure.
that. Certainly. Having read the budget, one of the things that I was hoping that they would leave in, and they did, was protecting the accelerated capital cost allowance. That's a really big deal for manufacturers in this country who want to be able to reinvest in themselves at an expedited rate. So accelerated capital cost is in the budget, and the Liberal government actually expanded that into renewable technology. But you know, this was done in a collaborative manner. I do think the Liberals consulted across the aisle, and they protected that right to ensure accelerated capital cost allowance was maintained in the budget. So I do applaud that, but I would continue to work, as everyone else here has said, in committees and protecting your rights as well.
Thank you. Mr. Benoit.
I was hoping I had a little more time to think about what the Liberals have done right, but I haven't. Well, I mean, it's all the same that everybody else was saying. I mean, we're in opposition, there's no question about it, that we have to negotiate, we have to cooperate, we have to oppose when we want to, and or when we have to, and you know, the debt that's amounting from 10 billion projected to 30 billion and things like that. I mean, how are we supposed to say anything good about them? And I'm really having a hard time with that. But I'm a negotiating type guy, and I'm willing to negotiate and work with them. I have to. I mean, there's no question about it, especially when it comes to energy and our East pipeline and that sort of things. I'm fortunate to have gone to school with Jim Carr, who's the Minister of Natural Resources. He's a Liberal. But fortunate enough to know that I can go into his office and put my hand over my Conservative label and his over the Liberal one and say, let's talk. We have 100,000 people out of work in Alberta. Let's get to work together. So, you know, those kind of things, I'm feeling that they will be, you know, easy, or not easy, but they will be, I will be able to negotiate with them, let's put it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Mr. Hinman.
Well, there actually was one thing that popped into my mind. That's when he said that these Conservatives are our neighbors, and we need to have a lot more building Canada together. Politics too often is a divide and conquer. The Liberals are terrible at class warfare and geographic warfare, but we need to look at it. We're our neighbors. But my 2 terms as an MLA, sitting in opposition, I found that it's very valuable to go and to talk to the ministers, to discuss the legislation that's going forward, to put ideas. And the work is done behind the scenes, not out on the floor where the bickering and the argument goes back and forth. They're actually going in and speaking to them in their offices, building those relationships, and pointing things out that they actually can take the credit for saying that, oh, you know, I think we need to do this, or we need to change this. And I was effective at the provincial level with both in child welfare and in home care at getting the ministers to change their way. And I think that I can do it there. And probably most important, Preston Manning did a great job for years of holding them fiscally accountable. An opposition that says that don't spend the money is a blessing for a government. They're not being pushed as we were every day being pounded. We're not spending enough money, we need to tax more. We'll be able to help them in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Hinman. Mr. Jones.
During the time Stephen Harper was in office, one of his priorities was reducing, or at least trying to maintain, the size of the federal civil service. Wages were not increased, numbers were not increased. That is something that has continued on under the Liberal government, and that's something that I applaud. Because I am a small government conservative, I believe that the fewer people we have looking over our shoulder, the better. As a member of Parliament, even as a member in the opposition, it's about ideas. It's about spreading those ideas. It's about sharing those ideas. Even if it's a small government conservative idea, you can sell that to someone in the NDP. You can sell that to someone who's a Liberal. You just have to do it in a way that meets their needs, that they can understand and appreciate. And that's my job as a member of Parliament. My job is to help them see the benefit to all Canadians of small government conservatism, to the entire country, and to this constituency in spending less and in leaving money in your pockets.
Thank you very much. We are going to do our closing statement now, but before they do, I just want to thank all the candidates for coming up here. Politics is a grueling game, and I know it's exhausting to do these forums, so we thank you for answering our questions. We're going to do them in the reverse order that we started with, so Joseph Scow, please, they each get a minute for closing remarks.
I thought it was 2 minutes.
Excuse me, 2 minutes.
I want to start by thanking everyone who came and the candidates for being here and taking part of this debate. It's been a really enlightening moment for all of us. But you know, I do want to reiterate something I said earlier, and that is this election isn't about us, it's about you. And as a 5th generation Southern Albertan, with generation number 6 at home in bed, and I pray she's sleeping, it is really important to me that who represents us in Ottawa has experience in federal politics and will hit the ground running with a turnkey office plan. I worked on Parliament Hill as a chief of staff. I know how to be effective and get things done there. Government spending is out of control. Life and dignity are at risk. Local unemployment rate is higher than it's ever been in a long time, and we are looking down the barrel of a long-term Liberal government that has little faith in Southern Alberta's abilities to create wealth and support itself. Now, many of you have come here tonight with an open mind looking for someone to support. Some of you, and I hope that I've earned your vote tonight, some of you have already made up your decision, and I respect that. But as we said earlier, this is a preferential ballot. And and you have a unique opportunity to vote for more than one person that you think will represent you properly in Parliament. So if I'm not your first choice, I humbly request to be your second, because I know that I will represent you with honor and dignity, and be just that, a representative for you in government. I've worked there, I can be a strong leader for you, and if you give me the privilege of representing you, I will consult you on the issues that are most important to represent you in Ottawa, not to represent Ottawa to you. Thank you so much for coming.
Hold the applause till the end, I appreciate it. Mr. Ranger.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for a wonderful evening. I hope you have had the opportunity to reflect on what you feel is important. The message I'd like to leave with you is the following. Experience is what you bring to government, then you become an asset. Maintaining democracy and preserving freedoms is truly going to require hard work and persistence when the leader of the country promotes a drug culture and his actions want to eliminate religious freedoms and change democracy. The values of society are askew. With the Liberal majority government in power, we have to start by ensuring rights and freedoms. Our politically correct society understands this and will rally to protect their freedoms if they know that they are at risk. Part of the process to effect change or to stop encroaching legislation will be to convince members of Parliament to stand behind correct principles and to promote common sense solutions. I will effectively influence MPs whether they speak French or English. As your member of Parliament, I will bring superior focus to getting the job done. I will bring the widest range of experience to finding solutions. I will be relentless in the pursuit of preserving our rights and our freedoms. I will not stand idly by. I will help to bring employment to the families of this area, and I will treat your concerns as if they were my own. Please consider me as your best choice, whether that's your first choice or your second choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranger. Mr. Motz.
Well, thank you for your interest in being here tonight and being an informed voter next week. As you know, it is imperative that our Conservative candidate have the trust and respect and confidence of the constituents of this riding. A candidate with a proven history of being involved and staying involved in making a difference to others and for others beyond themselves. A candidate with a decades-long consistency of actually delivering what is expected. A trusted individual, fully committed to being a true representative, voicing the issues and solutions of the people and for you, the people of this riding. Someone who has demonstrated a lifetime of deep, caring, and trusted volunteer and career service. A candidate who has walked the talk and knows what it's like to put yourself on the line for the well-being of someone else. A candidate who, as your MP, is there to serve you, to represent all of you. Now, at the end of the day, friends, once you cut through all the rhetoric you've all heard through this entire campaign process, you will recognize that there is no one else in this nomination race who knows the people of this riding as well, who will be as uncompromising in addressing the issues and concerns of you, the constituents. Someone who brings as much diversity, life experience, career experience, proven service history, or is as qualified to represent all of you in this riding as I am. After decades of professional and volunteer service to a community, it is a hard habit to break. I want to continue to pour myself into a purpose that is beyond the bookends of my life, to live as if my days are numbered, and to leverage the time that I have for the sake of future generations. My aspiration to be your MP is motivated solely by my desire to serve this constituency, to use my background and skill sets to make a difference to represent you. All right? And with your support, I look forward to having the privilege of serving you as your MP in this riding.
Thank you, Mr. Motz. Thank you. Mr. Jones, go ahead.
This has been a fun night, hasn't it? There's nothing better than sitting down and talking politics. There's nothing better than hearing ideas. Well, maybe for other, I know, my kids say the same thing. They're like, Dad, you're going to talk politics all night. I'm like, I know, right? It's going to be fantastic. This is my passion. This is what I love. This is what I do when I don't have anything else that I have to do. I love politics. I love the ideas. I love the passion that people have when it comes to government. And I promise that as your MP, I will bring that passion to work every day. I will work hard so that small government conservative principles will find a way, even in a minority, to peek their head up above, to work their way into the cracks. Because every day, in small and simple ways, I'll be exercising my passion and the love that I have for this country and for this riding. At the end of the day, that's all I have to offer. And I hope, I truly hope, that I am your first choice to be your member of parliament. But if I'm not, I hope that I'm your second. Because I promise you that if I have one thing to bring to the table, it's a love for politics and it's a love for these people.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like a little more free when I'm standing up, and I think that that's what this country's all about, is freedom. But I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come out and to listen tonight and to submit your questions. It's important. This is a critical time in our history. When we look around the world and we see the spending of government, the growth of government, the intrusion into our families, it's astounding. And we're on a slippery slope, and it's going to be tough to fight and to stop that tide from going forward. But I have a proven track record. I've been in there as an MLA for 2 terms. I know what it's like to talk under pressure. And that's what the real question is. Many people can walk on a 6-inch beam when it's on the ground. You put it up 100 feet in the air and all of a sudden you lose your nerve. And that's what happens with too many conservatives that go out there. They talk about, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't do that, we might offend something. Our policies are proven, they're true. Adam Smith understood what it was to grow the wealth of the country, and is to have free trade, is to protect the life, the liberty, and the property of the citizens out there. We can't have a divide and conquer government that wants to pass legislation that actually undermines our ability to move forward. They want to restrict the growth of industry. They want to restrict what we can and teach our children. They want to say that we'll pass on the values and principles to our children. We need to put a stop to that. We need to understand the importance of parental rights. We need to fight for those things. I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I've got the passion. I've spent my life studying what good policy is, what's good economic policy. And I believe in the people. I believe in recall. I believe in citizen initiative referendums. And if you have those things and you empower the people, our country will do better. And I trust the people, and I ask for your trust in voting for me as your #1 candidate, like all the others. #2, I'd be pleased to accept as well. But thank you very much for coming out, and have a great evening.
Mr. Benoit.
Well, when I first thought about running for member of parliament here in Medicine Hat-Cardston-Warner, I looked at our unemployment. I looked at my background. I looked at my business record. I looked at the 2 corporations that I worked with that gave me that skills, negotiation and promotion, and getting into the boardrooms, being very comfortable to walk into TransCanada Pipeline's boardrooms, finding what they want, Irving Oil in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Quebec, Denny Coderre. I mean, I don't have any, those are the things that I bring to the party. That it's jobs, jobs. That's all I've been talking about. And I think it's very, very important that we look at some new industry that we can bring to Medicine Hat, have an open for business attitude, and say, look, we've got the climate, we've got the natural gas, we've got the wonderful city that we live in. Let's bring these businesses here And I've been getting calls, I've been getting, people calling me. Ready Baked Foods, for one, is a fellow that I worked with for, since I was like 17 years old. We worked summers for the Scott National Company in the warehouse. And we've kept contact our whole lives. They're in Regina. And if anybody knows what Ready Baked Foods is, all of your breads and pastries and everything in Safeway, Sobeys, you name it, are all come out of an operation of that sort, or Riches. And they're looking to expand. So when I talked to Dick Boyce, my old buddy, last week, and I said, just a minute, guess where you're moving to? Medicine Hat, so, we need to attract those kind of businesses here. Good, clean businesses that we can be proud of. And we need to get 20% of our public people back to work. And the energy sector is another one, a huge, huge one. That I feel very comfortable going into these boardrooms. I feel very comfortable going and finding out exactly what's wrong. I really haven't heard yet what is wrong, why Energy East can't go through. I haven't heard one solid excuse yet especially the last 8 weeks of the campaign. So I'm really confident that I can get something done and get the city back to work.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. We had one other question to explain the voting process again. So I'd like to invite Sam Magnus up. Is he here? Hi, Sam. It is important to understand the process, and for those of people who came a little late and missed Dave's talk about it, I'm just going to ask Sam to talk about how the preferential ballot works.
First of all, it's really good to see all you folks here. I have been asked to be your returning officer. I have spent 15 years as a national councillor in either one party or the other, starting with the Reform Party. Was one of the 6 with Stephen Harper that worked to put the parties together, and was vice president of the Conservative Party for many years, and was usually sent where there was a likely controversy in a nomination process. This happens to be one where there's not likely to be a controversy, but they asked me if I would come and serve as a returning officer. I have a farm at Looseland, which is just north of Kindersley, and talk about the preferential ballot. We were talking a bit about first past the post and preferential. We in our party use the preferential system for a few reasons. Now, what I would encourage you to do, first of all, on your ballot there will be 6 names, and rate your choices, number 1, 2, 3, and 4 at least. You can rate all 6, but do 1, 2, 3, 4 at least, because the bottom person, the person that gets in the first round of counting, the person that gets the least votes, we take his ballots and we go to his number 2 choice, and we continue on till we have somebody that has 50 plus votes, so of the votes cast. So just make sure when you get your ballots, you actually mark your choices 1, 2, 3, 4 at least. You can mark all 6, but don't do any less than 4. Your ballots won't be spoiled, but I'm just encouraging you to do that, because then you will for sure have a choice, as some say I should, on who will win this. It's good to see the 6 candidates. I had talked to all of them on the phone, met a few of them personally. I had met Joe somewhere along the way. I remember this big guy in Ottawa a few years ago. I met him somewhere there. But we guarantee one thing: this will be a fair process. There is no fooling around in this. Anybody that thinks they can do anything as far as scrutiny or whatever, they will be removed from the room immediately. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. It's not a threat, it's just a promise. It's how we run nomination processes, because that's what's expected of us. It's good to see you here, Mr. Payne. Thank you for your years of service. Are there any questions about the voting system? Thank you, and we will see you next week.